All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with the man, Alan Jouban, obviously Corey and Ding here from Slap News. Alan, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we really appreciate your time. You are obviously you have a credentialed UFC background. You spent some time on the UFC commentary as an analyst, but now you've been around for a little while in the Power Slap sphere. So first things first, how you doing? How are things hanging? Obviously, you just covered the UFC fights this weekend. How was that?
Oh my goodness. I can't stop, as the kids say these days, glazing Fluffy Hernandez. We spoke about it on the post show. Dan Haley, me, and Chris Weidman and Dean Thomas. And Dan was the one that said, you guys keep glazing him. But me and Dean and Chris looked at each other and we could not remember a fight where there was such a big brother aspect in a fight. And it was a smaller man, big brothering. The Dolce is a big guy, man. And Fluffy's he probably could make welterweight. I don't think we always thought he was kind of undersized and kind of soft to the body. He looked as dominant as I've ever seen anybody look. And I think that guy right there that fought that weekend, if he fights like that against everybody, that could be the best 185er on the planet. So I was so impressed. It was an awesome weekend. And I mean, what a weekend and a show and a fight to come into the huge news that we got this morning with the broadcast deal, and we got Power Slaps coming up, and everything UFC, everything combat sports under that umbrella has just been rocking and rolling lately. So it's been a blast to be a part of it.
Yeah, obviously, like you alluded to, right? We got Zuffa Boxing's on the horizon, seemingly in 2026. Power Slap coming up here with 2 back-to-back events in October. UFC BJJ's in the mix here with, I believe, number 2 just took place. Number 3 and 4 coming up here in the tail end of the year. UFC with the big deal, Paramount Plus. And I mean, we're rolling, like you said. You're kind of in the mix of it all. I'm curious. When you talk about, obviously, guys like Fluffy Hernandez, guys like Roman Dolidze, Elijah Smith, obviously a crazy knockout this past weekend. What you guys do on the desk is pretty unique. Obviously, you are on the commentary team for Power Slap. Do you think, and this is just kind of from a fan's perspective, do you think there's a possibility that we ever could get analysis work to that depth with Power Slap, given sort of the simplicity of it in comparison?
You mean, would Power Slap ever have that type of format where we have like actual desk crew with the analysts and doing post shows and pre-shows? I don't know. I mean, I would think it's fantastic if that happened. You're right. You kind of said the simplicity of the sport. There's not as much to talk about in the technique. And it makes it easy for the viewer, right? I mean, you see a guy get slapped and he either gets knocked out or he doesn't. There is the people, and you guys realize this, but a lot of fans don't, because the thing that makes Power Slap so different is it's a 13-second, a flip, right? Like you swiping through videos, you see 2 Samoan guys that are 350 pounds going at you. Go, well, let me see what's about to happen here. One guy possibly gets knocked out. Okay, that was crazy. Swipe. You go to the next one. Where you watch a fight, you're looking at the little nuances in the grappling exchanges. You're seeing the high-level striking. And that's stuff that sometimes we have to break down and explain to the viewer of what's actually happening, X's and O's. And then from a panned-out perspective, what does this mean for the division? What does this mean moving forward, and all these things and these perspectives from a fighter's point of view? I would love if that got to that area of Slap. I think it's just still so new, and it's still Power Slap's in an area right now, and I know we might get to this later because you alluded to it before we got on the air about, people are still pushing against it. And for me, Power Slap is still in this stage. You look back 20, 25 years ago at where the UFC was and where MMA was, and John McCain, I believe, was a senator, and he was calling it, human dogfighting or human cockfighting, right? It was still like, this is barbaric. People didn't understand it yet. And then it caught on. And I feel like Power Slap is still having that type of pushback right now, where I don't know if it's going to grow or expand into these other levels yet until people just kind of learn to accept it and enjoy it.
Yeah, you know what? You hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's kind of a perfect segue into that. Obviously, I think I'll say safely, Ariel Helwani mentions Power Slap, sporadically throughout his programming. Obviously, he's kind of not a fan of it, and that's totally cool. I think MMA fans, though, from my personal opinion, obviously you are a mixed martial artist, so you have been. So I think you are more credentialed to speak about this than I am. But my personal opinion is that there's a misconception about the the dangers here and kind of the safety elements of it in particular. We covered this, and I saw that you kind of talked a little bit about it with Dr. Mike, going on Ariel's podcast and talking about kind of the safety issues and how it should be banned, and that it's, it's taking the worst part of combat sports and accelerating it, and it's removing the healthiest aspects of it, which I think is a bit hyperbolic. You posted something about this on Twitter, just in response, kind of saying like, I think people should be able to do what they want. Can you talk
Yeah.
a little bit about, number one, your mindset in that whole thing, and then two, kind of what that response was from the fan base?
Yeah, well, I caught a lot of strays. I caught a lot of shit. And you have to be aware of what platform you're posting it on, and I think that was part of the reason. I probably didn't word my tweet the way that I really wanted to, and so that was partly my fault. But the bigger picture is this: you could say what you want. Oh, there's no defense. Oh, there's no training. You could take any low hanging fruit, right? And I'm not going to argue with you about it. My point is, this is something that people are asking to do. This is not the draft. People aren't being forced to do something against their will. This is something I can't tell you how many fighters I've spoken to when I do the interviews, and they go, I've been applying since day one. I keep sending in my resume, and I keep sending in videos, and they never accepted me, and they finally accepted me. I've spoken to so many guys that I've been dying to get to this. So many MMA fighters that have been struggling to pay their bills because they're getting paid $500 and $500 on a regional scene, and now they're making 10 or 20 grand in slap fight. And other people, they just have jobs that they don't like, right? And they get the opportunity to do this, and they're willing and want to do this. So the point that I was trying to make to these people that are trying to ban, look, if you don't like Power Slap, that's fine. Like, I don't want to just say the obvious. Well, don't watch it. That's what everybody says. But it's literally, you don't have to watch it. If you don't like watching the Russian 500-pound hitman fight 3 girls, and don't watch that either, right? But some people watch it. If you don't want to watch it, that's fine. But don't fight for a cause that the cause, being the fighters that are doing it, want to do it. Because these people are saying, this should be banned. I want to stop this. I don't like this, and this is unsafe. And the fighters that are doing it are going, shut up. I want to do this. You're taking away my money, my dream, and my fame and success. Like, this is what they're dying to do. This is what they're training. This is how they're making their name. And not everybody's in it for life. That's the thing, the misconception. Look, you may have a 15-year career in boxing. You may have a 10 or 15 career in MMA. Power Slap is kind of a short-term lifespan in terms of a lot of guys are getting into this. And look, some guys, they may prove me wrong. It's still such a new sport. But a lot of guys, look, the champion, the Bell, right? He's undefeated in Power Slap, our heavyweight champion, I believe. He's taking the money for this and using it to put aside to go to school at NYU, I believe. Like, so there's guys that have a strategy and a plan. They're in this for a couple of years, make as much money as they can, get as famous as they can, and roll that into something else. Or there's wrestlers. We have a lot of WWE or professional wrestlers that have been coming into the scene now, and they're trying to get their name out there, but they're not getting the respect. They're still lower level wrestlers. And they say, if I can come and compete in combat sports or real combat, where this isn't, stage, and I'm not talking down on WWE type stuff, but I'm saying this is real combat. I'm taking a real hit from somebody, and I'm showing I got a real heart. This gives them like a respect amongst these other guys. And so they're using it. So guys are using Power Slap as a platform to build their name, as a financial investment to their future. And so anyone else from the outside who's saying, take this away, you're trying to take away somebody else's dream. You don't have the right to do that. And that's what I'm trying to vocalize to other people. Like, do you see what you're saying? You're saying this person should not be allowed what they want to do in life. They're not being forced to do this. This is what they want to do. And you're trying to stop it. And that, to me, is what is the insane argument.
Now, for you, obviously, you again, as a mixed martial artist, you are a representative of that community. What made you, even on the commentary side of it, what made you kind of embrace Power Slap from the beginning? When most of the people in that community were kind of shunning it.
Yeah, I just thought it was fun. Look, if I'm being honest, I'm a broadcaster, so you could ask me to do the BJJ, the boxing. I'm going to do all. I'm going to do as much as I can. I love what I do. I love this stage of my career where I get to narrate combat sports. But Power Slap, as soon as I started seeing it happening, you wouldn't see it that much until Power Slap. Power Slap really brought it to the main stage, but you would see some of it now and then. And I would always watch it. And then I remember Anthony Johnson, he's another guy who had auditioned for this as well. And me and him were vibing about it. When we went to the sizzle reel and we kind of auditioned for this role, And Anthony's like, dude, I used to go watch this in the Midwest all the time. He goes, I used to go to these slap events. It was, a different name. I used to go to these slap events all the time, man. He was like, I want to be a catcher. Anthony was talking to to Hunter Campbell about maybe competing in it. They're like, no, bro, you're not. You're a name in the UFC. You can't go and do power slap. But a lot of us get kind of excited about it. It's fun, right? It's fun to watch. And so when the opportunity presented itself, I was like, yeah, it's a no-brainer. I'm definitely down to do it. But I'll say this. Anyone who has something bad to say about power slap, that's their right. I would just challenge him. To say, just go to one event. And if you don't like it, then that's fine, man. I'm not going to convince you. But go to an event. Because everyone I have ever talked to that has been to an event, they rave about it. It's the hottest ticket in town. They've done so well. The production quality is top notch. You've got more camera angles, more light shows, the catering, the bar, the pacing of it. It's so fast. You're out of your seat screaming and hollering. Like, what did I just watch? And the toughness of these guys and the knockouts. It's really a fun thing. If you're not into violence or you're not into combat, whatever, then it's not your thing. I'm really shocked when I see guys that are hardcore combat fans, but they go, no, but this is drawing the line. And I kind of scratch my head when I see that. I go, you have to be a certain breed to do this, right? Just like they say MMA fighters are somewhat a little crazy. You got to be a little crazy to be a power slap guy as well, right? And that's who they are. You're not going to take this guy away from power slap and put him in a cubicle at a computer, right? These guys are going to be doing, everybody we talk to, they're in sumo wrestling, they've done MMA, they've done boxing, they've done like backyard, no rules. They've done all these things. This is who they are, right? And so let these guys be who they are on a different platform and stop trying to take away their rights.
If you had to take one power slap event that you've seen so far, that you were to show somebody and you were like, look, this is the one event. I got one chance to earn you as a fan. This is the event you need to watch. Which power slap would you pick?
Oh, that's tough, man. I mean, I haven't done all of them, so that is a tricky question. I think of two of them. Just the first one I ever did at the Apex, it was new for me. And so to see these guys going at it and seeing the knockouts, and it was just such a fresh thing. I was losing my voice every time I would scream for a big knockout. But this one might be recency bias, but then the last one in New Orleans. New Orleans was just such a beautiful fight week. I'm a Louisiana guy, and being there for the Dustin Poirier fight, it just seemed like everywhere I walked around in New Orleans, I'm running into power slappers, running into UFC fighters, running into people that I knew. There was a buzz around the town. And backing up the story a little bit, MMA hasn't been back to Louisiana in 10 years, right? 2015 was the last time they had a UFC event. 2025 was when Dustin Poirier brought UFC back there. The only reason that they were there was for Dustin Poirier, but this opened the door for power slap to now go. And it recently all got sanctioned. Power slap, bare knuckle boxing, all these type of things happen. And so Dustin Poirier bringing that to Louisiana, allowing the door to be open for power slap, and power slap absolutely smashing it. It was such a success. It was an amazing night, a lot of fun fights. The place was sold out. Everybody, I ran into the commissioners at the hotel, and they were like, we want them to have more. We want them to do more. Our governor, Landry, was repeatedly just like tagging the UFC, tagging Donald Trump, tagging all these people, just saying like, bring more of this to Louisiana. We have a craving for it. We have a town that's built for fights. Like everything's so accessible and walking distance. So it was something about the success of both shows, the UFC and the Power Slap in New Orleans, that it just it left a great memory in my mind.
Alan, honestly, man, first time I've heard say Dustin Poirier, it's a great take, giving him the credit for all this happening. I never thought of it in that way. Phenomenal night. I mean, and we had 6+ knockouts in that event. Talk to me about the difference between MMA and Power Slap, about being there at the broadcast table, because we get, the anticipation, we get the build up. And what makes Power Slap very unique and different is we know when the climax of the story is going to happen, when that initial slap is going to take place. I kind of refer to it more as like being on the 18th hole of a golf course where there's dead silence in the room and the crowd erupts when, the actual slap itself takes place. Talk to me about, the psychology that you go through as a broadcaster, but one, what it's like being there, and two, how do you build that excitement for the broadcast?
Yeah, it's a very different type of build-up, I guess, because it's such a new sport. And so when you have new competitors all the time, it's like starting a whole new story over. Where when we watched the Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway fight, we're talking legacy, we're talking sustainability in the sport, we're talking things like that, because these are household names, and we've seen these guys fight so much. We're so familiar with them, their family, their kids, that like the legacy that they've built. Now you get to Power Slap, and the majority of people on a Power Slap card are making their debut because it's still such a fresh sport. And so we're still bringing in so many people and kind of weeding out who's built for this, who's not built for this. So it's kind of like trying to tell a story, and we don't know the story yet. Who is this guy? This guy has no experience in this sport. He's fought MMA a couple times. And so that, to me, is what I say I struggle with. That's the harder part, is telling the story again with a bunch of, it's like having a UFC card with a bunch of debuters, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have to build the hype around these guys. I have to find a way to build it. The slapping tells the story itself, right? It's a lot of reacting there. My favorite part of it, though, is when a guy will have a good slap and you'll see the other guy and he's kind of rocked. And then that's when the excitement comes, because you know the guy that got rocked, now it's his turn. He either needs to knock this guy out or do something big, because he's probably not going to be able to withstand the second slap. And that's when the fun really comes, and that comes in, and that's when the crowd really gets into it. So that's definitely one of my favorite parts, is seeing how well will this guy take this second strike, and what can he do coming back off of being hurt? How much energy can he kind of posture up and try to get this one back? The other little side of it, and I don't like to go into too much of this detail, because people that don't watch the sport don't understand this. And I'm not trying to like defend. Look, Power Slap, you got to be somewhat crazy to do this, right? Like I'm not going to do it if somebody asked me, but I also wouldn't. I don't want a lot of people to do a lot. I don't want a lot of my family to fight MMA and stuff. You know, you got to be kind of crazy. You got to be built for it. But there is a subtle defense to it, and I'm starting to see people figure out the sport and try to bend the rules a little bit. And if I say that to anybody who hates Power Slap, they would argue with me until the cows come home. And I can't talk the subtle nuances of an armbar to somebody who's never rolled jiu-jitsu or who is a white belt, right? But if you're part of the sport or you watch it, you understand the nuances. And look, I'm putting my chin out there, and I've got to first go into the sport thinking, I've got a granite chin, an iron neck, and I'm crazy enough to sit here and do this. So that's point A. You have to be built for this. But once you get in there, you start seeing the guys who know how to really take a shot. What I mean is, you start seeing the subtle nuances of, they say you can't have your chin tucked, and they'll bring your chin up, and you see these guys start to kind of slightly tuck their chin, and you'll see them roll their traps up. Now they have more support of the neck, and then when the slap comes, you can't roll with it, right? That's illegal. There's all these technicalities that people don't understand, but guys are getting really good at kind of shrugging with it, right? Just kind of taking 10% of the power off without causing a foul. And so you're starting to see the really good guys do this. They implement a nice tuck chin, their traps up, rolling with the punches, and he just got a granite chin already. But you're starting to see guys get really good at the defensive side, where people say there's no defense involved. There is. It's a subtle defense. Look, if I get hit by a Mack truck, I'm going out. You can't stop it. But you could take some of the power off of some of these shots, and guys are getting really good at doing that. That's why you're starting to see, you'll see a 350-pound guy and a 350-pound guy, and they'll go 5 rounds. People think, oh, you can't stop it, they're going to get knocked out. But guys are lasting a lot longer. And to my point, you look at the numbers, I think it's 51% of the people who win the coin toss win, right? You would think, oh, if you win the coin toss, it's over. It's 51%. It's basically even. And it's like 50% of the fights only end in the first round. It's basically dead even, where a lot of people, when I went into this, myself included, I thought, you got 2 heavyweights? Whoever wins the coin toss is winning this damn fight. But it's not the case. You see guys, the bigger they are, actually have the more durable chins. It's the smaller guys that don't take the shots as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, as everybody else, as we got into this, there just wasn't enough data. And now that we've got, hundreds of fights to be able to extrapolate those percentages, I think it holds definitely a lot more weight. We see you guys, yourself, Dan, Michael, sitting at the table, around the weigh-ins. You get, 10, 15 minutes with each fighter. Is there something that's unique and different about Power Slap? I know you talked about the debut of so many fighters, but has broadcasting Power Slap, has it forced you to one, feel uncomfortable, and two, adapt to become better as a broadcaster as a whole? Like, can you share any insight, any stories?
Yeah, well, I would say that as far as the adaptability, it's a little bit to what I alluded to earlier. Is most of the time I'm sitting in front of someone, a lot of guys on the prelims at least, that I've never seen before, I've never heard of them, and they've never competed in Power Slap. And so I'm trying to dig, and these guys aren't media trained, right? So you really have to dig and dig and dig, where you get with a lot of fighters, and I don't have to start from page one. I can start from the end of the book, because that's where the story that everybody's familiar with. So it makes, as a broadcaster, to dig a little bit harder with these guys. But for me, the thing that most jumps off the page when I think about this is the opportunity. Like, guys of people that I speak with that compete in Power Slap, they're very grateful to be there. And I'm not trying to make it sound like a love story or anything, but these guys are like, a lot of times they've been wanting something, right? They're like, man, I've been getting in bar fights. I got in some trouble. I'm trying to get my life back together. And I quit drinking. I started working out. I've been putting in my application to Power Slap for a couple of months now. I finally got accepted. I'm just so excited to be here. Got my family here. So it's like they're taking a risk, but so is doing a double backflip at the X Games, right? But they want to do this, and they want the money, and they want the fame, and they want to do something different with their life. And so these guys are finally given an opportunity, as crazy as it may seem, to do something with their lives. And so I just try to encourage them and applaud them, and I always just give them the little subtleties that I've learned that I probably should have done better in my career. I say, look, man, you get a hold of that mic, you win this fight, you knock this guy out. Get a hold of the mic, man. Make your name remembered. Go out there. If you like to dance, do it, man. If you want to do a backflip, do it. If you're a singer, sing on the mic. Grab that mic from Charlie Arnold and start singing. Like, it's the entertainment value as well. That's what gets the views, the likes, and that's what's going to get you paid more. And these guys are starting to figure that out. You're starting to see more of these characters start to come out. And I think that's what Power Slap is. It's a bit of WWE. It's quick violence where you could swipe, watch a 13-second match on your phone, but you're starting to see the entertainers really take over the sport as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure a lot of this is public knowledge now, but, when you were sitting at that desk, can you, reminisce on, one answer that just floored you from somebody that you didn't expect coming?
Interviewing different fighters. Let me think back. God, there's been so many of them.
I'm talking about Power Slap specifically. I mean, because there's a lot of big characters, personalities, WWE. You talk about some of the stories about quitting drinking, etc. Like, did you ever ask a question to somebody, whether you want to say their name or not, where you just like, oh, did you really just say that? Or like, how are you still here today? Or anything like that?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it exactly answers your question, but the thing that's just popping to my mind right now, and I apologize, I don't have the names in front of me, so I can't quite remember who it was. But
oh, good.
It happened the last slap in New Orleans. The guy who got face planted on the table and he stayed there for like 10 seconds.
Yeah, Cathey.
Vernon Cathey. And who did he get knocked out against?
Austin Turpin.
Turp Daddy, Slim Turp Slim, whatever. He's a wild man. But that one, I went nuts on that call, right? And it was such a viral type knockout. I've never seen anything like that before. But the backstory that makes it almost kind of hard. And this happens a lot in MMA. These type of stories with MMA, like guys that someone missed weight and they said, I'm going to take this fight anyway just because I need to do it or whatever. And so the backstory with that one was Turp Daddy couldn't make the weight. And so they agreed upon another weight class. And Vernon Cathey goes, God dang it, I already made the weight. I'm going to accept it. He gets there and Turp Daddy misses weight again by another 10 pounds. So now this guy's it's just 20 pounds overweight. And Vernon Cathey's a guy, never misses weight. He's spot on. He's probably the best interviewer that we have. He's just so down to earth, talks to you, very honest guy, very, very likable guy. And he's like, look, man, he kind of asked us, what would you do? I go, look, I can't tell you what to do. But if you're here to fight and you want to fight, tell them I'm going to fight. But I want 30, 40, 50% of this guy's purse. Get the money, go out there and perform, right? Mm-hmm. And he goes, that's it, bro. He goes, I don't even need the money, but I love doing it. And Vernon Cathey's a guy. He's got a business. He's got jobs. He's got land. He's a very smart, intelligent guy. But he goes, I just love doing this shit. I'm going to take his money. I'm going to go out there and perform. He gets knocked out in one of the biggest knockouts we've ever seen. And it's as crazy and wild and fun of a moment as it was. Afterward, I felt for him. I felt for the guy because he put it all on the line. But that's what I mean when I say most of these guys want the money. They need the money. This is something, an opportunity in life that they've never been given, and they finally have it. So you can't take that away from them. And then there's some of these guys like Vernon Cathey, they don't need the money. They just love this shit, man. They just, even though they're successful in life, they're like, bro, I get to fly to Vegas. I get to fly to Saudi Arabia. I get to fly around the world and be on TV. And when I go home, people think I'm like this huge celebrity, and they just love the adrenaline that comes with it. And so that was one, man. That was a wild rush. And I look to see Vernon Cathey get back in there, and much success for him, I hope.
Absolutely. Appreciate that story. Great insight, Alan. Honestly, been an absolute pleasure. Hopefully this is the first of many opportunities we can have you back on the show. Take care. Have a great day, my man.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. I'll come back anytime for sure.